Hello there. Didn't see you. Tonight, Mimi is going to help you crack the case of the Cricut Craft. Here she is.
Okay guys, so welcome to Cricut Craft Room. This is my first time to ever do a tutorial on the screen, so I'm going to try this for you. When you go to Cricut.com and you download the Cricut Craft Room that works with your interface or with your computer, this is what you'll see. Now yours obviously won't be filled in with Maymay Made It, but this will be your account screen. So you will have to set up a new account. Mine is obviously to my email account. Feel free to send me an email to this address anytime. And then my password. Now I'm telling it to remember me on this computer. This is my home desktop computer, so I pretty much am okay with that. I probably wouldn't do this, you know, on a work computer or something because, you know, you never know. It's not like this is very private information. But anyway, I'm going to tell it to remember me, so next time I can just click sign in. Now, it takes a minute to sign in because it's going to load all of your projects that you've ever done or ever saved. So it takes a little while to, you know, gather all the information and all that good stuff. So while it does that, we will wait for the picture. Okay. Now, once you get into Cricut Craft Room, there's a couple things I want to show you. First, I want to say I am no expert. I just played around with it till I figured it out. I'm sure there's a lot of other things it'll do beyond my scope, but this is what I figured out. So you can see up here that you have layers. And then if you want to add a layer, you can add a layer by clicking this button. And if you've ever seen a gypsy work, or if you have a gypsy, how it has this eye, if you have layer 1 open and layer 2 open, and let's say you don't want to see what's on layer 2 while you're looking at layer 1, you can just turn the eye off on the layer that you don't want to see. So if you have it on, you're going to be seeing both of them. So very similar to the gypsy in that. So that's pretty cool. And the best part is this program is free. Now, the only other thing you're going to need besides Cricut Craft Room is, well, two things. You're going to need a cord to connect to your Cricut, and it comes with your Cricut. It's a USB cord on one end, and it has that weird adapter on the other. I don't know what kind it's called, but somebody might know. Leave it in the comments. You'll need that cord. You'll also need your cartridges, because although when you go down here to images and cartridges and you click on that, well, I closed it out by clicking on it. Okay, I meant to hit this button. Although when you click here and you see all these great and wonderful cartridges, if you don't own the cartridges, they will not work. So you do have to have the cartridge in your Cricut to use it. Today's cartridge we're going to use is going to be the Close to My Heart Artiste cartridge. Now that comes in the Cricut Famous Friends category. So you're going to click on that. And if you look, you'll see that Art Philosophy is first, and then Artiste. And notice there's some Creative Memories and Disney and Sesame Street and all kinds of things in here. So we're going to click Artiste. Now once we click Artiste, the basic overlay is going to open. Notice how many overlays there are for the Artiste cartridge. There's this one, plus these 4, plus a card, and plus a 3D object. This cartridge is loaded up. It really is. I mean, between this and the Art Philosophy cartridge, you can do anything you want. So I can't imagine what they'll come out with next, but I'm anxious to see. So for tonight's card, I'm going to make a 6x6 card. And let me say this part of the card will just be the Cricut Craft Room tutorial. And then I'm going to do a separate tutorial on the actual card to put it together just for time's sake. What I love about Cricut Craft Room is it shows me my cutting mat, so I can really use this as a design area. So notice how you have this bold line at 6 and this bold line at 6 that cuts our craft mat into 4 quadrants. Interestingly enough, it also does that in 3s here and then in inches. So if you're making a 3x3 card, you just want your graphics to stay in this area. If you're making a 6x6, you want it to stay in this area. And let's say we were making an A2 card, you'd know you want your graphics to stay inside the area that is the size of an A2. So I think this is really neat. A great way to lay out graphics for your cards. So the one I'm going to make tonight is a photo frame card. It's really interesting. I can't wait to show you that. But to get started, we're going to do the accents for the frame. I'm going to use the 6x6 to help me out. So my first accent is going to be the first part of the frame. Now what I have found is that the actual picture frame I wanted, I couldn't, believe it or not, I couldn't locate it on this cartridge, but I do know how to make it happen, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so the first image that I found that I really liked was a banner with like little squiggly lines at the bottom of it, and it is on page 77. It is, and this is very important. Notice how I can't see all of this. You need to, and I'm off screen a little bit, but I'll do it right here. You need to raise this up so you can see the whole bottom so you're not missing anything. So my first image that I want to cut is actually on this button, but it's on accent 1. So you click here, and it's on shift. So I'm going to click here. So when I come down here, this is the squiggly little banner that I want. So I'm going to click it, and it comes up into this spot. Now, I'm not a big fan of the colored images. You can do that if you want to. So here's what I'm going to do. Notice where it says red here. I'm going to do this little drop down. I'm going to pick color, and I'm going to choose white and say apply. I just like the white. It's easier for me just to see the lines. I'm kind of used to that because I used to use the SCal or Surecuts a lot, and that's kind of how that was. So I'm used to that look, so I like it. So here's what I'm going to do. I want this frame or this banner to be 1 inch in on either side. I want to show you a couple things first. This 4-way arrow moves your entire image. Okay. This arrow rotates. This little circly arrow that rotates. Get it back straight. That's always difficult for me, and I still didn't do it. So you can always edit undo. I'm just going to try to do this one more time. Okay. This arrow button makes your project longer. This arrow button makes your project wider, which I actually want it to be that wide, so I'm going to leave it there. This button is like aspect ratio, where it'll take this very shape and make it bigger just like it sits. Okay. And then this button moves the image up and down. This button moves the image side to side. This one skews it. So there you go. That's what the buttons do. So we're going to stick to the basics. I'm not big on the skew button. I mean, there might be a time, but this is not the time for me. So I'm going to get this to 1 inch in, and then I'm going to bring it down about that far. Now the cool thing too is that I know the measurements I really do want this to be based on my card. So I want to show you what you can do. Either here in this section or here in this section. Here you can click on this middle piece, which is lock aspect ratio. You can click on that and it turns it off, which is what I want it to do. If I leave the aspect ratio on and I put in any dimensions here, they're going to be similar to each other or they're going to change each other. I want mine to be just real size. So I want this banner to be 4 inches wide. So I'm going to go 4.0, tab, tab. Ooh, I didn't mean to do that. Let's go back. Redo, redo. I'm just going to do it up here. 4 inches wide and 5 inches tall. So when I do that, it goes exactly to the measurement that I want. The next thing I want to do is I want to go back down to my images, okay? And I know that I want to put a frame inside of here. And I have located my frame on I've located the frame I want to use on the inside on page 49. Now I'm going to come down here. I don't have to make this bigger because I know where I'm going. I'm going to this button right here. However, I need it to be on accent 4 and I need it to not be shifted. So I'm going to turn the shift off. And this is the image I want, which is the rounded edge square. So I click it. Now, I do not want to weld these items. I want this item to stay right where I can see it. So I'm not going to weld it. Okay. I take that back. I am going to weld it. I'm going to weld it because I want it to go, I want to be able to cut the hole out. So that's why you weld. So you'll put the image where you want it and then click weld. Now, I know what dimensions I want this one. If you didn't know, you could play around with it and pull it and look. It'll show you how much space you're taking out and whatever. But I know that I want this piece to be 2.5 by 3.5. So to save time, 2.5, 3.5, enter. So now it is, 3.5. Okay. So now I get a little crazy with that tab button sometimes. You have to be careful. All right, so now it's what I want it to be. So I just need to center it. I'm just going to eyeball center it. It shouldn't be too hard to do that. So that's where I want it. So now, as you notice, I'm building my frame. Now this is what I do. At this point, I click the inside, which I have already clicked and touch the shift button on my keypad, and then I click the outside image. This brings them both together and allows me to go to the top here and click group. And now that I've grouped this item, when I click on it again, I'll be able to move it as one piece. So pretty cool. So I'm gonna put that right there. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to create a layer that goes right here around this, just for some interest on my card. So it'll be, you know, my background paper, this frame, and then one more layer. Now the image I've chosen to make this little frame with is on page 69. And it is, I will have to raise this up. So I'll put my arrows here because I'll need to see all of them. It is the second in, so it's this crown shape, or actually not crown shape, it's this cupcake wrapper. And the image I want to use is accent 3, and it is not shifted. Now, I noticed when I was doing this last night that one of these is not correct. They have the buttons mixed up. So I'm going to see what happens when I hit accent 4 and see if I get what I'm looking for in shift. Yep. I don't know why, but in the book it's accent 3. So that's something close to my heart needs to look at, I'm sure. But I'm going to click on this. If that ever happens, just play around till you find it. Now, I want to rotate this object because I want it to be facing in the other direction, completely straight up and down. So I'm just going to grab this button and begin to rotate. Now you may not get it perfectly straight at this point. Use your lines and things to guide things up, but once you get it where it's going, you'll be able to do that. Another important thing at this point, these buttons have now moved, and they will move on you when you have something rotated, so you want to make sure you're looking at the right button. For example, if you pull here, it's going to stretch it. If you pull here, it's going to make it taller. If you pull here, it's still going to move it side to side. So just watch your little buttons and see what happens. Again, I happen to know what size I want this one to be, so I'm going to go to the top, and I want this to be, and this is a weird one, 3.847. And then over here, I want it to be 4.403. Now let me tell you how I know that dimension. I played with it a good bit last night to decide what size I needed it to be, and that's why I know. So I just wrote that down so I would have it for the tutorial today. This shape, I want to add this square in the middle so that I get a frame. So what I'm going to do is, because I know what this shape is, I can do it two ways. I think this is the easiest. I'm going to click here. I'm going to come up here and ungroup it. I'm going to click out, click the square, go to copy, then click paste. Here's my new image. I'm just going to move it out of the way for a minute, and then I'm going to go back, click in, push the shift button on my keyboard, and group it back together. Now, if you knew you needed that shape multiple times, you could go ahead and do that beforehand, but I just didn't. So now I'm going to go over here and grab this little guy and put him in the middle and line him up. I want to click out because I want to look at it. I'm going to click the image again. And the arrow buttons on your keyboard, you can use those to kind of, you know, get the item exactly where you want it. And I think just by moving it that one time, it gave me good distance on either side. So now I have this image. Now I want to group it together. I'm going to click on it. Right here. I want to click here. Touch the shift button on my keyboard. Click here. And group. Now again, once I click out and click back on this image, when I grab my 4 arrows, I can move it wherever I want it. Now I'm going to be using this whole 12 by 12 sheet to put into the Cricut. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to pull this down because I want to show you what we're going to do. Off to the far right of the screen is an up and down bar, which you can't see in the screen, but it's over there. You can also move it with your mouse. If you click on it, you can kind of move it around if your mouse will do that. Okay. It's got to catch up with me because it's being slow. Now, I'm going to be using this bottom area of the 6x6 to make my paper layer, which is actually the background for my card. I'm going to come back to the images, and I'm going to use this same shape that I used earlier. I'm going to click it, I'm going to grab it and bring it over here. Now again, I know the size I want it because my card is a 6x6. I want it to be 5.75 by 5.75. And the reason for that is I just want a 1/4 inch edge. So I hit enter and that's what I get. And now I'm going to bring it to where it's inside this section so I know that it is right. Now, one thing to remember here, let me pull this so you can see it. Remember that the yellow is still a cut area, the gray is not. So something interesting is, I noticed earlier, it won't let you move outside of the cut area, so that's really good. Like I can't pull that over, so that helps you. But that's gonna cut that little background layer for me. Then the last few things I wanna do, I'm gonna come back down here. There's a couple little items I think are really cute I wanna add. I'm gonna go to the basic, and this little eek right here is really cute. I wanna put this on my project. I do not want it here, so I'm just going to move it over to this side. Again, I've already pre-measured for the size I want, so I'm going to go up to the top, and I'm going to put in 2.25, and then I want to put in 1. So I want it 2 1/4 by 1. So there's what I want on that one, and I can, if I can click it, there we go, I can move it where I want it so I can save paper or what have you. The last element I need is another spooky element, because this is going to be a Halloween card, and it's from that same Eek and Halloween button, but it's the tombstone. And how I get it is I'm still with the Eek on the Eek button, but I'm going to put accent 1, and I'm going to not shift because it's right there. So then I'm going to bring this one over here so it can cut, and as you can imagine, I already know my dimensions. So I want it to be 2 by 4.75 and enter. Now I know that's the size I want, and I'll show you what that's for when we get to the project. And now I'm going to just close this down so that we can look at our project. My favorite part of the whole thing is that you can save this project. So last night when I built this project, it took me a lot of time to build it. So you can go up here to File, you can click Save, and you can enter a name. I'm going to call this one Frame 2 because I've already done this once and I'll know what it is, and click Save. Alright, so this item is ready to cut, and let me tell you what happens. Now I'm going to be a little bit wasteful with paper tonight. Really not wasteful because I'm going to use my scraps, but I'm going to put the paper in separate sections to show you how it works. At this point I'm ready to cut. Now this computer I'm using right now to record this is not hooked to my Cricut, so I will not be able to do the actual cutting from here. But all you do is click Cut after you've got it hooked into your computer, to your Cricut for sure, and then it's going to ask you in this area to choose which machine you want to go to. I'm going to pick my Cricut Expression, and then I'll tell it to cut again, and you'll load your paper and it'll cut. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut. So now it's cutting. Woo, cutting fast. Okay, so it just finished cutting, and like here you can see where it cut it, and let's see if I can pull this away to kind of give you an idea. Yeah, so there's one cut, you can see, and I can pull the middle out to show you that we created a frame. Isn't that cute? You know, if you have a gypsy, this is just something you can do with your gypsy, like on the go, but I don't have one. So see that other layer we made? I love that. Not cute? So this one's going to layer on here, and then this is our background, which it did not cut it correctly, so I'm going to have to do that myself. And then this glitter paper, I might have to kind of do some work on that too because it's pretty thick. So I will pull everything off and we will get started.